Hello everyone, uh, I'm Abhishek Gautam and I welcome you all in this Flutter conference organized by GDG Ludhiana. So in this conference we'll talk about Flutter and its architecture. So first we'll get to know about mobile application development. So we all are familiar with these things that creating a mobile application or developing a mobile application is a bit complex or a challenging task. Like for developing mobile applications for different operating systems like for Android and for iOS, we need different native frameworks. Like Android is having a native framework based on Java and Kotlin language, whereas iOS provides a basic different framework which is based on Objective C or Swift language. So we are having some sorts of complexities as well in developing Android app development. So what is the complications in mobile application development? The complication is that for building applications for different operating system, we need to prefer different frameworks. Like if we are developing app for Android, then we have to go with the framework of Android, and if we are developing applications for iOS, then we have to go with the framework of iOS. So to overcome this complexity, to remove this complexity, we are having some sorts of frameworks available or introduced which support both the operating systems, like both Android and iOS, as well as desktop applications as well. So these types of frameworks are called as cross-platform development tools. So in that scenario, we'll get to know about Flutter. Flutter is also a type of UI toolkit. It is free and open source development framework which is created by Google, and Flutter allows a developer to build a high performance cross-platform applications through Android, iOS and other different platforms with the help of a single code base. So with the help of single code base, we can develop Flutter applications. So Flutter is not a language, it is a UI toolkit which is developed by Google. It is a framework. So the language which is used in the development of Flutter application is Dart. So we have to use Dart language for application development in Flutter. Flutter mainly optimized for 2D mobile applications that can run on both Android and iOS platform. With the help of Flutter, we can develop applications, and that types of application can run on both the Android and iOS platforms. It is used to build full-featured apps including camera, storage, geolocations, network and third-party SDKs as well. So basically, with the help of Flutter, the app which we will develop, it includes all the features like camera, storage, network, third-party SDKs and geolocations as well. Now we will see the current status of application development. What is the current scenario of application development? So in the current scenario, application development is categorized as native application development, hybrid application development and mobile or web application development. So we'll see what that native application development is. So in native application development, these are the applications which are developed especially for particular mobile platforms such as iOS or Android. With the help of these particular platforms, we'll have to use the particular native programming language of all these platforms, their tools and libraries for developing applications. So what that native application development means? So native application development means we have to build an application for native platforms. Like if we are developing application for Android, so we'll use the native programming language of that Android, and we will use the tools of that Android Android application development and libraries as well. Like in that scenario, we'll have to move on with Java or Kotlin. And if we are doing the development of iOS application, then we'll move on with the native programming language of iOS development, the framework of iOS development with C Sharp, Objective C, or Swift language. So that was about native application development. Means we have to use the particular native programming language of that particular platforms. Now we'll talk about first we'll see what is web app development. So in web app development, these are the types of applications which are built, and the beauty of this development is that we don't need any Play Store or App Store to download or access it. We can simply access the web applications through browser itself. We don't need any Play Store or App Store. With the help of a URL, we can easily access these web applications. It can work on any platform devices, like either we'll use it on smartphones or we'll use it on laptops. We can easily access these types of applications. Now we'll see hybrid application. What is hybrid application development? So hybrid application development is nothing but the mixture of both native and web apps. Basically, they are using the web technologies for the development of hybrid applications development. It is faster to develop and also required a less platform specific code. In native, we can only develop native applications for different platforms with the help of different languages. And in a web, what we can do, we can simply develop the applications with the help of web technologies, and simply we can access it with the help of browser. We don't need any Play Store or App Store to use that web applications. And in hybrid application development, we have the combinations of elements of both native and web apps. They are basically built with the help of web technologies. This types of application is faster to develop and also required a less specific code. So that was about the Flutter. Now we'll see why Flutter. Means what are the reason that we have to use Flutter? What are the benefits of using Flutter? So faster development. What that faster development include? So while we are developing any Android applications or any applications, if we can simply see the demos live, then in that scenario we'll get to know the exact what is the reflections, whenever we enter some sorts of code. So parallelly we can see, if we can see the demo of that particular line, so we can get to know that if there is any error, then we can simply sort out that error. Means we can see the changes in real time. That is fast development. What is about, then we will talk about performances. Since Flutter uses ahead of time compilation, so what is that ahead of time compilations? So ahead of time compilation is simply the app's code is compiled in machine before executed. Before the execution of code, the app code is compiled in the machine. So due to having ahead of time compilations, the performance of Flutter application is better because it simply it results the faster startup time. It doesn't take too much time to start the application. That's why the performance of Flutter application is better. Now we'll talk about UIs. So Flutter provides us beautiful UIs. The widgets, with the help of the collections of widgets, we can simply develop different types of responsive UIs with the help of Flutter. And we'll talk about codebase. So what about the codebase? When we'll talk about the codebase of Flutter, with the help of single codebase, we can develop applications for both all the Android, web or iOS application development. Due to having single codebase feature in Flutter, we can save our time, we can save our effort as well. So with the help of this feature, we can save our time, we can save our efforts as well. And as compared to other frameworks or other phases of application development, we can build the separate apps as well with the help of single code base. So that these are some of the things which makes us able to think about that the Flutter is best to use, so that we'll prefer to use Flutter for Android application development. So what are the things which make Flutter a unique language? So the first thing is ARM binary code. Another thing is no any brace required during the development of Flutter applications, and Flutter don't use any markup language. Only Dart is a language which is used in Flutter. If we'll talk about the application development in Android, so in Android, what are the things which we required? So if we want to design a UI, for designing of UI we have to write XML code, and if we want to see the responsiveness of this XML like UI, the code which we have written in XML, so for that either we have to use Java or we have to use Kotlin. We'll use Java file or we'll use Kotlin file. After that we can make that UI responsive which we have developed. But in Flutter, with the help of only like in single code base, as Flutter is a single code, Flutter supports single code base, so we don't need any other language, any other markup languages. With the help of Dart only, we can make the UI as well and make it responsive as well. Now we'll talk about the architecture of Flutter. So when we are talking about the architecture of Flutter is all about the widgets. So while we are building application in Flutter, we'll need to create a widget tree. So whenever we talk deal with the development in Flutter, so if we'll talk about the Flutter architecture, then we have to deal with the widget tree. The widget tree is UI of the applications. The UI of that application, how the UI works. We'll see about that things, that how this UI works. What are the widgets we will use while developing, what are the widgets we are using on regular basis in the architecture development. Let's see. This is the modern UI toolkit for native applications. So basically the Flutter is the architecture of Flutter is divided into 3 layers. The first one is framework layer. The second one, this middle part, is engine layer, and the last one is embedded platform specific layer. So what that framework layer is? So the framework layer consists of different Flutter frameworks, and it is responsible for providing sets of pre-built UIs, widgets and APIs that developer can use to build the application. So in framework layer we are having pre-built UIs, and we have to only use that UIs. This layer provides us essential functionalities. Like if we need the functionalities of any animation or gesture or any layout, then with the help of this framework layer of Flutter, we can use it. Now we'll talk about engine layer. In engine layer, basically it is responsible for rendering the UI elements which we have taken from the Flutter. Like the Flutter, in Flutter framework layer. What is in framework layer? We are having pre-built UIs, and the developers are having the responsibility to use the pre-built UI widgets or their APIs which is already developed. But in engine layer, what we can do? In engine layer, we just render the UI elements which is created in this framework layer. And the engine layer is written in C or C++ language, because it communicates with the framework layer through with the help of a channel. With the help of a channel, engine layer communicate with framework layer for the rendering of the UI elements which is in framework layer. Now, what is the responsibility of that embedded platform layer? So this layer is responsible for providing native platform specific functionalities to the applications. So the responsibility of this layer is to provide us functionalities to the applications which we are building. This layer is having the responsibility to access the native UI widgets and applications used in Flutter layer. There is a responsibility of this embedded platform specific layer. This layer is to provide access. This layer provide the access to all the UI widgets, which is in framework layer. The responsibility of that platform specific layer is to provide the access to all the UIs and APIs so that the developer can work on this Flutter applications. Now, the embedded platform specific layer provides us access to some sorts of features like camera, sensor, and other functionalities. Like there are some sorts of native functionalities like access of camera, access of sensor, and some other functionalities. So the responsibility of embedded platform specific layer to provide these types of accesses to the developer. What are the how we can create an applications? So the 4 ways to use Flutter today. So if you are new to Flutter and you want to use Flutter from scratch, so you can simply start the development of Flutter application in this 4 way. The first thing is start a new app from scratch, prototype a new idea, bring your app to another platform, and use Flutter for parts of your app. So simply, let's say you are having an idea to develop an application. So simply you can use Flutter for developing your applications with the help of these 4 steps. So if you want that you want to start application development, so how you can do the application, why Flutter is better for you. So the Flutter is better because if we want to start the application development from scratch, so in that scenario if we don't have the knowledge of any language, then the Flutter is best in that scenario, because in Flutter you have to understand only the Dart language. With the help of only Dart language, you can easily able to develop the applications. But if you want to use some another phases or another platforms or another frameworks, let's say you are going to develop an application for Android in different scenarios, then what you have to do? So for that you have to go with that Kotlin. You have to learn either Kotlin, and then for designing of UI you have to learn XML. Then for checking the responsiveness or make the UI responsive which you have developed, you have to write the code in Kotlin. So it's a bit complex. So that's all about the Flutter and its architecture. Thank you.